Hey guys, welcome back to Winter Wolf's Den. Happy New Year. It's not too late into the 2023 to have to tell you guys that. King Z is back. I hope you guys can see him. We've missed him on the show. You might have noticed I didn't do that much without him around, and there's a reason for that. It's not as much fun. So we are back, dude. How is it going?
Still out on the road. I'll be out on the road for pretty much 14 more days before I get to go home for a few days, which is going to be kind of nice. Go through a lot of soul searching during that time to see if I even come back out or stay home. But this is to serve a purpose, and it's been serving it pretty well. Getting ready to gear up for this year to start doing some production and get back on the show. I've been missing it.
Yeah, Andor was a good time, you know. And again, I'm sorry you weren't around for the end of that because there was definitely some cool stuff to talk about. Maybe we do that as a retrospective later in 2023 if season 2 comes out. We can do like a little back catalog work kind of thing, see what's going on with that. But without any further ado, we're getting into it for a quick one today. We're going to talk about The Last of Us because I remembered like a couple days ago that it's coming out in a couple weeks at the time. And I wanted to get King Z up to speed. He happened to have come across it in his own travels along the way, independently of Winter Wolf here. So we both have our opinions on the piece. They might be in line, they might not be. We've kind of kept our opinions to ourselves thus far, as we like to do. I think that this particular show is going to set a pretty good benchmark for HBO this year. It is a beloved fan IP. I think it's going to lead up kind of a crop of a next wave of IPs that are coming out. We know we've got Fallout coming. We know God of War is coming. Halo Season 2, you know, that's coming. It's already, you know, had its first year, but I mean, it's coming back this year. Unexpectedly to me, because, you know, I hated that show. I believe you hated it also. They didn't really do the source material justice there. As a quick aside, did you see Wednesday while you were out on the road?
I have not really watched much TV. I haven't really had time. Like, I'm not getting back in until recently, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it's pretty much go to bed, go to work, go to bed, go to work.
I know I gave you the avoid at all cost warning on Willow. I will give you the dude, check out the writing in Wednesday. I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed that through its entire run. I did have some issues with the concluding episode, with the finale. I thought they shot their wad on some really bad creature effects and a really stupid kind of subplot that comes out of nowhere to wrap things up, but it served a purpose to set up a spring into season 2. And ironically, talking about Wednesday, that just got greenlit, I think, yesterday for certain. Okay. So they're absolutely coming back. It's the most watched thing in Netflix history. Like, it surpassed Squid Game. It surpassed Stranger Things, Cobra Kai. Like, the show's on a roll. So, dude, check that one out, guys. You should check that out, too, if you didn't. Go back and watch my review on the Wednesday series. I think you'll like it. But getting back to HBO Max and The Last of Us. Dude, what do you remember just about the game? Just if you played it through however long ago it might have been, what do you remember about The Last of Us game?
So, The Last of Us was a more tactical survival game. It's not just run out and hack zombies like a lot of them, like Left 4 Dead.
Not even close. Yeah.
Or a lot of the different zombie games that you have out there where it's just pretty much hack and slash with zombies.
Not a lot of firepower going around in Last of Us, for sure.
No,
even if you wanted to play it that way, it's probably tough.
And like the creatures were more powerful than most zombies because it's not a standard, living dead type thing. It's actually a fungal infection that causes them to become what they are. And like you really have to be strategic to like sneak around them and stuff like that. Like the clickers, you can throw stuff to send them off to their very sound.
Bottles. Yeah, that was cool. I bet you anything they do that in episode 1. I guarantee that. I guarantee that on the show coming up, they're going to get right into that. They'll show you that.
I would say that as soon as you see it come through the door will be the end of episode 1.
Interesting. That's a good spot for a cliffhanger. Yeah, dude, you're right. Fit right into black. Okay, yep. All right, true that. What else about the game? Because I know for me, the survival elements are fun. The stealth elements were fun. The game's story, in particular, we're going to talk about this, in particular, the relationship between the two protagonists. If you had to grade that on our scale, 1 to 5, did they hit every button right? Did they hit every beat right in that relationship? Did you find the story engrossing?
Well, you could definitely tell that it was going to be a surrogate type story because of the way the game starts off with his life and how he got to that point.
No spoilers
yet. With that nightmare.
Yep.
And then, it was like a surrogate type. And we knew that, it starts off as a mission and it always grows into more. Yeah. I mean, it's a standard story beat. We've seen it time and time again.
Oh, dude, it's Mandalorian and Wolf and Cub. Yeah, it was just most recently Mando and Baby Yoda. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the...
true that.
Yeah. It was just the
first
time
it was done in
a post-apocalyptic.
Right. I like that vibe. That I don't care if that's a trope bordering on cliche for me. I'll show up for that show, for that story beat just about every time. It doesn't even have to be done particularly well. There's just something kind of primal and natural about the parental figure looking out for like the youngling, and I'll always be down for that. Like that strikes a chord for me. Without commenting on the ending in specifics, what did you think about the ending of the game and its moral choice that Joel had to make regarding Ellie and the scientists? If I gave you enough clue, I know you just watched the re-education video.
I would say that it would play into the surrogacy.
Yeah,
like you would see. It's kind of hard to say without spoiling it.
I know, dude. I was just gonna say, if you were Joel, would you have done it?
I would have probably done the same thing he did.
Motherfucker, exactly, dude. There's a certain kind of man that just knows that's the answer to that question. That's exactly right. There's no way on earth it goes the other way. Even if the game, did the game even give you a choice? I don't remember, but I feel like even if it did, there's this percentage of people that would have gone the other way would have been single digits at best.
Yeah. See, what I would classify this game is a open world on rails.
Yeah,
you get to see the beautiful open world, but you are set to a set story. Kind of like the old Call of Duties, where it's like you couldn't just go through any building. You had to go down this street and watch this building fall down.
Campaigns still move you like that with a little bit more flexibility these days. But yeah, you're right. On rails for sure. Yeah, almost like an amusement park ride at like Universal or something like that.
Yeah.
True.
It's nothing like a true open world, but I would say it's one of the best stories on rails that you could play in that type of that genre of zombie post-apocalyptic.
Dude, I would take you a block or two further and say it's probably one of the best titles of its generation when it debuted. It was originally a PS3 title, if I remember right. I don't think it was a 2. I think it was a 3, and it got remastered because that's when I picked it up late on a PS4 a couple years ago.
Yeah, I bought the PS4 that it came with. It came with it. Like Last of Us was installed on the PS4, yeah.
Cool. No, I picked that up. What do they call them on PlayStation? Yeah, the PS Classics or whatever. Like it's $20 at like Target or whatever. I grabbed a few when I picked that up. I finished it in a weekend. And I don't have time for those kind of games. I really don't. But it was that engrossing. Like I had like when I woke up like the next day, took care of the house, ran downstairs, and then did 2 or 3 more hours of that before I had to do more grown-up stuff. It was just that good. Show-wise, I know you got some technical data you want to throw out there, like we usually do. We're going to talk a little bit about, technical crew, cast characters, get people up to speed on maybe who falls where and who's doing what. You give us the brief overview on that. Appreciate it. Appreciate the legwork.
When you're going to look up this, you'll find out one of the big things. One of the awards that the video game won was Best Score at one of the video game ones. I can't remember. It won a slew of awards when it first came out. But it did win Best Score, and the guy's Gustovano Sandoval, and he actually did the score for the TV show as well. So it's going to be the same. They're going to stay on the same type of music outline that they have in the game to the show, which I think is a great crossover.
Very cool.
The other part, one of the other show creators is Neil Druckmann, and he is a video game creator. He is responsible for creating The Last of Us, the video game.
There's a lot of backstory behind that. A lot. Druckmann is not to be trusted.
And then the other guy with him is Craig Mazin, who is also the executive producer, and he also wrote. Some of the things he's known for is the HBO series Chernobyl, which
awesome.
critically acclaimed. Mm-hmm. He also was a producer of the superhero movie Remember, like the scary movie, but superhero movie?
Oh, yeah. Which I believe is an aside for a time held the dubious distinction of having the lowest score on Rotten Tomatoes. So there's that. But comedies never fare well, typically.
A producer and writer of Scary Movie. He wrote
Which was
3 and 4 of Scary Movie. And he also wrote Hangover 2 and 3.
And again, so he's got a bit of the sequel-itis. Because Hangover 1, classic. Hangover 2, 50% of it's good. Never saw 3, don't care.
3 was, it was just to get more of, what's his name in it? The doctor, the former doctor.
Oh, Dr. Ken? Is that what's his name?
Yeah, Ken John.
Yeah, that's his name.
Yep, it was just to get more of him in there and have
Still
a story
don't care.
about him.
Still don't give a shit. Still never going to see it.
The part that what gets me is like his first that goes into the dramatic or drama is Chernobyl. Everything else he's known for is comedy, which kind of scares me a little bit with this story.
But Chernobyl was really good, dude. It had really good. It was ominous. It had atmosphere. It had tension in spades. It hit you in heartstrings.
Is that it was original? Like, I mean, it wasn't original. There was actually a story. Like, all this stuff was, he just took notes and converted it into a screenplay.
True, it needed to be dramatized and adapted. Yeah, that's fair.
Which,
that's
technically you could do it for this, but the other part that scares me is that this show will be under 7 different directors over the 9 episodes.
Didn't know that. Oh.
And 3 different directors of cinematography. Or DP, directors of photography.
I think maybe the counterbalance there is if Druckmann is the singular showrunner, like if he's the guy in charge, because it's his IP, through Naughty Dog, like, contracted out to, licensed out to HBO or whatever. Maybe having different directors is okay, but 7 for how many episodes? 8, 9? Like
9 episodes. So it's like each of them get 2 episodes and one gets 1.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That sounds rough. I mean, one of the things that we, anybody that watched us do the Andor stuff knows that we liked there was consistency at the high level, with the directing and the writing, and that even if they had to if they didn't do, a middle episode, they were still around giving criticism and oversight to other people. Like they weren't allowed to run roughshod over the project like Rian Johnson did, with his Star Wars feature film. Where he's just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do whatever I want. There is no oversight. On Andor, where Gilroy stepped out for his time that he wasn't directing, he had people that he trusted that stayed on point and kind of, moved through the show's plan, through its Bible, and then executed a cohesive, which is one of the words we always use, on the show, is that these guys, when they have these IPs that exist that have canon and fans and legacy reputations, they need to stick to a cohesive vision and get things
stick to the source material as much as possible. I mean, one of the hardest things to do is to adapt a book into a movie. The hardest is adapting a video game into a visual. One, because you have the fan base and fans ruin movies. I'm just going to tell you that. Fans ruin movies because fan stands for fanatic, and you're a fanatic about that thing, and nothing's going to please you. Either they did too much or they did too little.
True. I mean, that's a fair criticism. I think where I would come a little bit back from that stance is I would say that it's like politics, man. There's extremists on both sides. There are some people that if you and I were to sit down and write a Superman movie today, but have it be about, Superman doing a bake sale at a summer camp when he was 11 and never talk about Krypton or never talk about Zod or superpowers, somebody would like it just because we said Superman. The other side of that camp, the absolute diehards, like, Superman never went to summer camp on Krypton. But you got to meet people in the middle somewhere. Like take the Lord of the Rings movies, the good ones, the Peter Jackson, LOTR, the Fellowship trilogy. He didn't adapt them frame by frame, paragraph by paragraph, but he made well-informed decisions that pleased the overwhelming majority of fans. I get it. Yeah, some people are still pissed about the whole, what's his name? What's the character? Oh, jeez, you're gonna have to edit this out while I babble for a minute. Oh, what is the character that he cut out? Oh, Tom Bombadil. Yeah. So the Jackson stuff never included the Tom Bombadil character, which had some implications in the books. He kind of expedited, I think that's a word. He expedited when Aragorn gets Narsil at the end, not Narsil, Andoril, the Flame of the West, and Return of the Kings. He made some changes, but for the most part, people love these movies. And I think that stands in like a stark juxtaposition to people, like when we talk about things like Halo and Resident Evil, and those are just fresh on my mind from this year. They have the names, they have the titles, they had zombies, and they had the Covenant. But was anything about any of those storylines in either of those series germane to those IPs? And no, they weren't. They weren't even close. They didn't make informed decisions. And both of those dickbag sets of showrunners went on the record as saying things like, well, we wanted to tell our own story set in this incredibly diverse and colorful world. I'm like, but you could have just told a fucking Halo story. I mean, there's a whole rack full of them in Barnes & Nobles. Adapt one. You're not good enough to write your own shit. If you're not a fan and you haven't played the game, and you're on the record as saying, not only have we not played the game, we actively went out of our way to avoid familiarizing ourselves with the material, well, then piss off. I don't want to, I wouldn't let my mother officiate an NFL game. What does my mother know about American pro football? Not a damn thing. So I wouldn't let her be an expert in that. You know what I mean? And I feel like hopefully with Druckmann, as much as I hate him for the Last of Us 2 decisions, with him around, hopefully he can keep it to, like you were saying, respecting source material, at least from the jump, and maybe getting through and telling that kind of story, which I think would be best for the show.
In which I believe this series will go and it will tell its own story in the world, keeping it to as kind of close to it, but telling their own story to fill in the gaps that you don't see in the game. And that's the part that people might get upset about, is that they're going to be filling in gaps, because there are gaps in time throughout the game, because you don't hear every conversation when they're in the car or when they're just hanging out. You're going to see a little bit of that.
And just to cut you real quick, especially if you get towards the end of the game, if you remember, there's a part where Joel gets laid up for like a hot minute with his injuries, and basically Ellie takes over a good chunk of the game. It's set during like the winter time where she's out like hunting and scavenging and shit like that. Like the if I'm not mistaken, I think they basically tell you it's like the entire winter season, like that's time lapsed in that part of the game. Like it's long. It's not like a long weekend. It's like it's months that he's laid up, because I think he took a gut shot.
They start traveling again in spring.
Right. So I think you're right. That's a good point too. My concern with them filling in the gaps with what they want, and again, I don't mean to beat the analogy with the Peter Jackson stuff, but there's a famous interview clip. It's made its rounds a lot in certain circles and YouTube videos where Jackson's being interviewed, and he's asked if he wanted to insert any of his own story or messaging or themes or politics into the project. And Jackson says to the interviewer, much to the interviewer's shock, I think, well, no, we were trying to respect like Tolkien's work. We made it a point to absolutely abandon any of our own messaging and themes and things like that. And I think that's why those movies hold up 20 plus years later. My concern with gap filling, like you were saying for this show, is that might be the weaselly way in that they try to promote any of their dumb agenda-based shit that wasn't in shows like Wednesday, in my opinion. And that's why that's why that show, that's why Cobra Kai, that's why Stranger Things and Squid Game dominate their viewership numbers, on streaming, because they had source material that didn't allow for gap filling by people that might not have been motivated to maintain that kind of thematically neutral kind of stance.
Which, if you're familiar to the story of The Last of Us, it does have its inclusiveness into it.
Oh, 100%.
Especially 100%. Part 2 of it has the part 2 is pretty much all have that inclusiveness where it incorporates the LGBTQ plus community into it.
Did you watch any? Did you do the cutscene thing for that game as well?
Yeah, it took me through both games.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, just making sure so I don't veer off. Do you think this show is going to break at the end of Game 1 and then do Season 2 if they get it for Game 2? How do you think that's going down?
I believe the 9 episodes will take us up until the winter, where he gets hurt.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's where they're going to stop it.
That'd be a strong point to stop.
They'll probably split the games so they get 4 seasons out of it.
Oh, you think they'll get 4? Interesting. Okay.
Yep. Split the games 2 and 2, 2 and 2.
That might have to be a bet to be made down the road. I don't know. I mean, are you interested in seeing the showrunners put original content in between major story beats from the game? I mean, doesn't the game and its like 15-hour playthrough have enough that they could adapt without having to bring in an outsider to throw in a subplot about like getting like the car to start, or you know what I mean, like some Walking Dead shit? Like, do we really need outsiders?
You're going to see the
writing
Walking
extra
Dead
shit?
stuff in this, because you're going to see that little bit added in, because they're not filling for time. Like, you're going to get 9 50-minute episodes. That's
Right.
what
No, this isn't some.
run.
To be clear, this isn't some Disney Plus bullshit that has like a 27-minute runtime adjusted for credits. You're absolutely right on that.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's a 50-minute runtime. Like most HBO shows, like I trust HBO when it comes to creating stuff of quality. Now, you might not agree with the material or how they do it, but their quality will be there.
Oh, on a technical level, sure. I expect nothing less than
Yeah.
what I saw in House of the Dragon over the summer. Like it will look top notch.
Yeah.
They've invested the money appropriately into, I'm sure, creature effects. I'm sure any of the VFX that they have to overlay, set design from the brief kind of teaser trailers that we did see. It looked like, post-apocalyptic Boston in episode 1, and probably whatever flashbacks come up depending on where they decide to start. I think they'll have that under control. There, I'm really concerned though. The game, and probably more so for the like games that run longer. Like, I mean, Halo has room to put some kind of B plots and C plots in between, because at its heart, that's a shooter, and the campaign has cutscenes that are kind of in between, where it just kind of always just moves the chief in the direction of like an obvious goal anyway. This kind of thing though, it's like there's a human story that they already have to work with that's about them building the bond between Joel and Ellie. So if they just stick to beats from the game, is they're a bit antagonistic at the beginning because of the circumstances that they make each other's company, and watch that progress. I just feel like we don't need to see a D plot between two characters they invent that fall in love, because I think that's what fucked Halo up when they added the I don't remember her name. She was the young, she was Asian of some ethnicity or another. I don't remember the character's name. But that was everything wrong with Halo, is they spent so much time on her that they didn't do Halo. You know what I mean? And I don't want that to happen here.
What I see happening here from start to finish is you're going to start off with the small group. And I mean, the natural comparison is to The Walking Dead. We're going to see a lot of The Walking Dead where it started off pretty much with one guy, grind.
It's genre. I mean, that you have to.
And then it's going to expand out. And as it expands out, you're going to see the B and C come out. It won't be right at jump. It'll probably be about episode 3, episode 4 when they start introducing new characters that you'll start seeing that. And one of the other things I do see is because she has such a big role in the second story, is that they'll have, what was her name?
Abby?
You even go off and play her for a while.
Abby from Game 2?
Yeah, Abby, yeah.
I fucking hate that character, but okay.
I think they're going to break off early in season 1 and start showing
Foreshadow her in a little bit.
Yep.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, if the video you watched covered Game 2, I mean, she's the protagonist. She's essentially the protagonist of half of Game 2 right after a critical event happens to one of our main characters from Game 1. I'll leave it at that without spoiling for folks that don't play games. So that would make sense to include her, because I think a lot of people, when Game 2 came out, were intrigued by her backstory, because it is kind of she has relation to one of the scientists from the Firefly group in Game 1.
Yep.
I'll leave that at that, so we're avoiding, we're trying our best here, guys, to avoid spoilers. While we're on the subject of Game 2, let us know in the comments section below where you stand on Game 2. Are you a avid Game 2 hater like Winterwolf, or did you not mind it like perhaps King Z did not mind it? I definitely hated it. And I think that the game, it didn't need to go that way, and it probably killed any interest in a part 3 that I would have. I'll leave it at that. But what do you got? What do you got on that?
Pretty much, I gave up on the PlayStation soon after the new Spider-Man came out. I played the new Spider-Man, beat it, and then I sold my PlayStation. I haven't looked back.
Oh, true that. Well, for those of us that are still playing cross-platform, on just about everything I can get my hands on, I need to get one of these little, what's this thing called? The Steam Deck. It's another portable system that I'll never use. I need one of those. So, I'll probably be looking into that, and I'll get back to you on that one. But
I have a
more
PC.
HBO Max.
I have a gaming laptop. I'm good to
That's
go.
what I'm saying. I'm on my gaming laptop now. We have the Switch OLED over there collecting dust. I got a PS5 that I just used to play The Devil in Me, which, as side note, was a trash game from the Dark Anthology from Supermassive. Don't buy it. It was awful. Get the Quarry instead. Not perfect. Better game. I'm getting a lot of mileage out of my Series X for sure with
Yeah,
Warzone
my
card, 'cause I'm a
Xbox is a
sucker.
glorified Roku box.
Dude, sign on to Warzone and DMZ sometime. Maybe we can get
Oh, no,
down.
it's on my laptop. I play it on my laptop and my computer.
We,
at
we
home.
can cross-play whenever you want. Send the invite. It's a thing, dude. You get the mouse, you get the gaming pad, whatever you need. We can make that work. Josh and I
The
need a third.
internet
It's
sucks
hard out there
at
in the
my
DMZ with only two
hotel.
people. The AI keeps getting harder.
The internet sucks at my hotel.
Oh,
I
yeah,
wouldn't be
that's
playing
it.
it more.
Yeah, true that. It's actually when he plays from work a lot, so he hooks up to like whatever local Wi-Fi. So he plays in his car. It's kind of funny. And it's if we try to play regular multiplayer, it blows, but we can play DMZ for whatever reason, so we just do. But Last of Us, because we keep sidetracking, because that's what we do here in the winter.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
Squirrels and
We're
rabbit
having
holes.
fun. This rabbit hole with that AI art thing, but I'm not even going to talk about that on the show. But the show, 9 episodes, different directors. Prediction from Winterwolf before this gets too far out of hand, because I think we've been going probably about 35 minutes or so, and I don't want to keep you too long because we don't have any story info to talk about yet. But I'm predicting good performance out of Pedro Pascal as Joel. I don't think he looks the part. Yeah, I don't know. Some people like him, some people don't. I don't like the real life guy, but he's good in Mandalorian. He's good in Game of Thrones. He was on Narcos, I think, right?
Yeah,
That's
he
like
was
his
also
biggest role is
in part 2 of The Kingsman.
Oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. So he's got game. Bella Ramsey, I don't know, dude. I only know her as Little Lady Mormont from Game of Thrones, and I thought,
Yeah, which was
She
I
was
would have to say one of the
okay.
stealing characters of the last 3 seasons.
yeah, I don't.
She was in the last 3 seasons, which are deemed the worst 3 seasons. She
Yeah.
was a shining star.
Except for her end, dude. That end scene was fucking stupid, dude. If a zombified frost giant thing picks you up and squeezes you, your insides are liquefied instantly. She did not have the wherewithal to survive that injury and then stab it in the face. I don't care how badass it looked. It was dumb. It was fucking dumb. It's almost as dumb as Super Ninja Assassin Arya Stark doing some three-handed 360-degree no-scope, drop the dagger, kill move on the Night King. It's almost that dumb. It's close. But anyway, I don't know her from anything else. So I don't know.
She hasn't really been in much. I
This
went
one, I mean,
through her
she's kind of a newcomer.
Yeah.
We know she can do the stern-faced, precocious kid thing, acting like and she did. To her, in all fairness, the speaking parts that she had that weren't combat related, like when she was in council, at the wall talking to the to the crows and everything, like she held her own. She looked like she belonged there. It's whether or not you believe a kid that they'd actually let a kid lead, the Bear Island clan or whatever. I think they would think they were Bear Island or some shit, whatever they were. Like she looked like she fit the part because she has a certain hard look. She looks kind of stern. She's got like it's kind of like a rounded feature that just kind of makes it look a little hard, as weird as that sounds. So I think so. And now that she's a little older, she can probably pull off like the bitchy teen, which is what Ellie mostly is through the game for most stretches. And whatever, that's fine. I'm not gonna not like the character because she acts like a regular teen. It's a real teen stressed by being chased by zombies, so she can be bitchy. It's fine.
Yeah,
Like she
and
doesn't need to be
also her
strawberry
parents
shortcake.
being dead and
Yeah, then there's
everything
that.
she's been through.
And people trying to kill her and use her and everything else. So I mean, I hope we get a good performance out of her. I think she's had the most sensible things said. She's made the most sensible statements in media, being like, I hope people just give me a chance and like the show for what it is. She hasn't said anything defensive, standoffish. She hasn't done the Brie Larson thing where she tells guys like us that have supported the franchise with our dollars and basically made it the success that it is, because demographically speaking, I'm betting like 90% of people that bought The Last of Us probably have a Y chromosome. That's just reality and market testing and numbers and things like that. So she hasn't made those Brie Larson statements where she says it's not for us, don't watch it. So I will watch it. And I will give it its fair due, like I did Willow, and like I did She-Hulk, and like I did Rings of Power and Wednesday and everything else. I'm most concerned, though, that, like I said, there's going to be this creeping in of things that aren't The Last of Us in those spaces to fill between, let's say if there's 10 chapters in the game or whatever there were. I would have preferred that they just spend an hour adapting each of those chapters as best they could, and if there was a slow time in between certain beats or certain action, that they just invented more stuff for Joel and Ellie to do, because I really want them to hammer that relationship home. I really don't need the cast of characters to go from what do you think the mains in the game? Joel, Ellie, it's Marcus and Taylor that they come across, and it's a black father and son, or a black older brother and younger brother.
Older brother and younger names. Brother.
Right. They're kind of mains. You know, there's the girl that gives him the mission, or the woman that gives him the mission to deliver Ellie in the first place.
Yeah.
It's been too long, I don't remember names. Marlene, I think, is her name. And actually,
Marlene,
I think that's the actor. I think the actress in the show is the voice actor, as a matter of fact. I think I heard that somewhere along the line.
Yeah, a lot of that is going on in here, yeah.
And then also there's Joel's brother that they come across later on, and like, you know, a girlfriend in like a Walking Dead kind of community. So I mean, they have 6 to 8 characters from jump that they can just use. What I don't need are, you know, 50 extras that are promoted to like the B and C team to just take up time doing stupid shit like walking and talking about feelings that don't matter to the story. You know, we know we're going to get the standard gather the resources plot. We're going to get the standard defend the house plot. The standard fake death plot. You know what I mean? Like, there are tropes that are involved in zombie. You and I know zombie fiction front and back. So we're going to get some of those things. You know what I mean? But I think that's my biggest concern. Does anything concern you about this at all, or are you pretty much ready to go?
I believe they're going to a few Zombieland type incidences where they take on massive amounts of even though in the game 100%. Your whole purpose is to avoid them. You don't want to fight them.
Yep.
But I believe they're going to be like, we're going to have to go straight through them and type thing, and like stay on my back, and like she's going to be a crack shot even though she's never fired a gun before. Like straight headshots.
She does save him in the game a couple times with the gun, though.
Yeah,
like when he falls in the water and she drops his pistol. And I bet they adapt that scene, hopefully frame by frame. I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see the upside down Joel shooting one, because that's dope as fuck.
Based on some of the actress and characters, you're gonna see. I believe there's gonna be plenty of flashback scenes in this as well.
Well, there should be. I mean, and that's okay too. So if they have to. You know, obviously they have to cast those characters. So if we want to see Joel's family from the world before, that's fine, because they're not going to be around long enough, sadly, to get into some subplots about going to Walmart to buy bread, and that's when the outbreak happened. Like, we don't need any of that. We don't need them to invent fresh characters for the middle of the outbreak to do stupid shit. That's what I don't want to see.
And they also have to, because I believe they saw it in one of the teaser trailers, is that the watch. So you have to have that flashback at least to explain the watch. Right. And then also they have, which I'm actually kind of excited about the casting, because I'm a huge fan of hers, Ashley Johnson. She's going to be cast to play Ellie's mother.
Yep.
If you don't know who Ashley Johnson is, she is from not Growing Pains, Who's the Boss? She was in that. And then she's grown up and she works in with Critical Role. She's a big voice actor, as well as she was in the show Blindside as well, as she revitalized her career.
I think you had it right the first time. I'm pretty sure she was the younger sister in Growing Pains. Who's the Boss was Tony Danza with Alyssa Milano.
Okay.
As the daughter. Ashley Johnson was the youngest sister in Kirk Cameron's family, if I remember right, from Growing Pains. The Seavers.
Yep, Growing Pains, yep.
Yeah, you had it right the first time.
Christy Seaver.
Side note, sidebar. Her first debut feature film role. Anybody?
Lionheart.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's Lionheart. Dude, nicely done. Nicely done, King Z. I had a good feeling you'd get that. Dude, I remember the day I've seen Lionheart 50,000 times. It's top 3. We need to do a top 3 Van Damme show is what we need to do. Lionheart is top 3 for me. It might even be number 1. The score in that movie is incredible. Incredible. Yeah. But I remember the first day I was this many years old when I realized the little sister from Growing Pains was his brother's daughter. It was his niece in Lionheart. I remember it was like 10 years ago when I was watching it for the umpteenth time. I was like, holy shit, that chick was on Growing Pains. Huh? Who'd have thought? Dude,
And
good for you for getting the trivia. Dude, good for you.
And she's
Nicely done.
yeah, and as she's grown, she's been doing voice acting.
Wasn't she in Avengers? She was the waitress at the end of Avengers that Captain America saved, if I remember right. The one that does the news interview after the fight's over. It's like some people think they're criminals. I think they're heroes. That might be a little bit of deep cutty. You might want to check in.
Do you want to know
anyway.
but she's a voice actor. Do you know she was a voice actor in The Last of Us? Do you know who she was the voice of?
Ellie's not girlfriend in the DLC.
Ellie.
Oh, get out of here! Was she?
Yep, she's the voice of
Ellie.
Ellie.
No shit. Didn't know. Dude, makes sense. Good for her. You're right. It's a bit of a career revitalization because Growing Pains was about a billion years ago.
And a lot of us nerds know her from Critical Role. And then, of course, The Legends of Vox Machina on Amazon. Season 2 coming out soon.
Haven't seen it, heard mixed to good things.
I liked it because I listened to the first campaign. So I know all the story beats and everything going on.
No. A friend at work that follows it religiously. I'm like, I don't think it's my speed yet, but we'll see.
I liked the first season, the first campaign. Second season campaign was pretty fun to a point. The third campaign, I don't feel like these characters are in danger at all because they have
it's getting a little Hollywood now.
Just the power. Just the power of the characters, like they have 2 clerics. There's no way anyone's gonna die, so there's no threat of losing characters or anything like that.
Has set in. Yeah, that's too bad. Okay,
I mean, at a certain point, when you have 2 clerics in your party, no one's ever gonna die.
Yeah, no, you have to fall into a volcano for anybody to actually get cooked at that point. So,
like in the first one.
Yeah, go ahead.
You had a main character die. Like they brought him back for certain points, but they had to make concessions with a god.
It was like terrible sacrifices, right? Because nothing comes for magic doesn't come for free. To quote the Dresden Files for like the 8 trillionth time today. I've been talking about Dresden all day. My younger brother. I am gonna get him on the Audible to listen to the series because it's right up his alley. There's no way he wouldn't enjoy it. But let me ask you the question again: is there anything about the show that concerns you? Because you just gave me like 55 more positives because of Ashley Johnson. Do you have
that's
any
because
concerns?
it's Ashley Johnson. But
that's what I'm saying, dude. I got you.
The 7 directors, like usually a show has 2, maybe 3. Like they bring in a guest one, like a Kevin Smith or something like that, to direct something just because he's a name, help bring viewership.
And typically qualified. Qualified within the genre.
7 directors, and like most of them are pretty much they're HBO directors. They've only worked on HBO type projects.
Okay.
Same thing with some of the DPs. Like one of the DP, he hasn't actually worked on anything major. A lot of short films and stuff like that. The other 2 worked on a lot of different type of stuff outside of HBO and also with HBO. You're gonna see a lot of ties to HBO. You're gonna see a lot of ties to Game of Thrones, which could be concerning.
These are pluses to me. Go ahead.
Not necessarily, because you're going to see the same faces just doing something else. You're going to see like, oh, they're just doing this from that character type thing. I always like new faces when it comes to new things. Like bring in like 1 or 2, like Mandalorian dude. Like
Filoni.
Yeah, you see him different places. You have an Ashley Johnson who hasn't done anything with HBO, but has ties to the game, which is cool. But then, like, the rest of the characters, a lot of them are Game of Thrones rejects.
Oh, see, on a character side, I got you. I'd be with that because you're right. It would just feel like people are just moving from world to world. But on the technical side, it's sort of, I feel a little bit better now, actually, than I did before, even if there are multiple directors. If they're studio employees first that just kind of work on stuff for HBO, it means they have less incentive and less leash to work with. Because it probably means that somebody signing paychecks has given certain parameters for how this is all going to go down. Just like how Marvel does. There's a reason every Marvel movie since, I don't know, phase 2, middle of phase 2 has felt exactly the same. Because like they hit their stride success-wise and now they're like, this is the formula. Go do this shit. You have about 2% that you can play with in terms of your humor or your framework within using the camera, and that's it. So if these guys are all on the same page in that middle management level of who's working on the show, maybe that alleviates some stress of having 55 different directors for 8 episodes or whatever. That might not be bad. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Quick thing on Marvel. Marvel needs to take a risk soon.
Yeah, definitely. That's a whole separate show we could do.
I honestly think they're going to do it when it comes to the one they're doing with Samuel Jackson.
Secret Wars?
Not Secret Wars, Invasion.
Oh, Secret Invasion. Yeah, my bad. I always
Secret Invasion.
I've been mixing them up for 20 years.
It looks a lot darker. It has a different color scheme.
Looks like Winter Soldier. I mean, maybe tonally it reminded me but that's a series though. That's not a film, isn't it?
Oh, it is a series, isn't it?
Yeah, because they had Armor Wars that was a series that now got bumped into being a film,
which got bumped completely.
Oh, is that off the docket altogether now? I thought it had
gone. It's off.
Oh no, shit! Yeah, I thought that they moved it from show to movie and then pushed it a year.
No,
it might be in the pipe somewhere. Oh, dude, I'll have to go back and check their release scheduling. Good, because I don't know how you do that without Iron Man, but whatever. There's now rumors that that they might have RDJ with the Brinks truck backing up to the mansion, just dumping cash into his pool. So, who knows? Any closing thoughts on The Last of Us? Anything else you need to get out the system? We're just going to ride this out. This is our prologue to the show, to the coverage. Sunday nights is the showtime?
Sunday nights, 9 p.m. It's going to be taking the place of the House of the Dragon.
That's right. So we'll probably watch and then hopefully jump right into commentary right after that and get a video to you guys, hopefully next day, Tuesday at the latest. Kind of our tentative plan.
This tentative plan is either, watch Sunday, record either Sunday night or Monday. Sunday nights, when I'm home, will be easier than when I'm on the road. Also, with internet connection of downloading your half of it, of course, and
I didn't even think
get
about
it.
that. That's gonna be tough.
So yeah,
I didn't mean to torpedo you.
No,
if
you're fine.
Anything you wanted to, just kind of ramble, getting back into the speed of things.
Yeah, but yeah, giving the people what we're looking to do would be good. So yeah, we're gonna watch it fresh, and either record that night or when I get off work on Monday. Which I've been doing a lot. I've been getting off a lot earlier, like 4 o'clock. So I'm good after 5 pretty much every day.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to wait that. If that's how your schedule works out, we could get into it a little earlier than waiting.
And then
like
you
9.
can render your side, send it over. I could start the 15-hour download that it would take with my slow ass internet here. And then get it edited and probably posted Tuesday night, or just have it released first thing Wednesday morning.
True.
So that's 3 days after airing, we'll have our review out for the people.
True.
For you.
Maybe,
we're doing this for you.
Maybe we experiment with the live format at some point again, just for funsies. See if we can work that out, because that would save everybody a whole lot of work. Probably if we get the OBS thing figured out, that'd be kind of cool. Any wrap-up remarks on HBO Max, The Last of Us, Pedro Pascal, the game, the second game?
I like
expectations
Pedro
and predictions. Give me a prediction.
Fan of him.
Give me a prediction.
Prediction, I believe it's going to be underwhelming. I believe it's going to be visually stunning, but the whole show will be underwhelming. And
Dude,
they're going to
you
drop
just
the
talked
ball
for an hour about. Hold on. You just talked for an hour about how all this good stuff is going to be this, that, and the other thing, and you're going to come at these guys. You're going to come at our people at the end of an hour-long show with no video footage of the show, with no gameplay, only commentary, and tell them underwhelming. Could you sell the show any less?
Underwhelming. Wow. I believe it will be visually stunning. I believe Pedro. How do you say his last name?
Pascal. Pascal. Mm-hmm.
Pedro Pascal will put in a great performance, but he'd be surrounded by garbage, and it's going to be garbage writing.
Garbage writing. And you know what? You might be right, because as I was saying before, there's backstory to the whole Neil Druckmann Naughty Dog studio and the publishing of the game. He did not, despite what is out there in certain circles, he did not write the script for the first game. That was a writer by, I think it's Alice something or other. You guys can wiki that, just Last of Us Part 1. That she was kind of the lead showrunner for the game, and she found herself kind of muscled out as they were in pre-production for Part 2, and this jackass got all the acclaim for it, and because he runs in certain political circles. So.
And the reason why I say this is because if you listen to the dialogue of the game, they throw in explicitives and curse words just to throw them in. That's lazy writing. You use it to emphasize something.
Yeah,
you don't use it to say like the whole dropping the F-bomb just to drop the F-bomb.
That's the Witcher
like
Blood
7
origin.
consecutive times.
That's why I didn't recommend you that show, because that's that show. They drop in F-bombs in every verb, tense, and word form in every line of dialogue, and it loses its effect 15 seconds into the first episode.
Yeah,
awful.
It's lazy writing.
Yep, 100%. Well, then I guess we'll have to wait and see. So if the writing is that on that kind of juvenile level, I mean, they're adapting a mature enough topic as it involves those kind of interpersonal dynamics. It'd be a shame if they blow it on lazy writing like that. I think that's a secondary concern for me. I'll wrap up my final thought on the like I said before. I think the bones of a good story are there because the game is that great, and I think the closer they stay, this isn't one of these times where a story beat needs to be abandoned because it's problematic current day. There's none of that in the game at all. It's very straightforward in terms of what the story is about. It's about their relationship between Joel and Ellie, and about how it progresses in a way where they do, in certain cases, they do awful but justifiable and needed things to protect one another. It's their show, so as long as they write them two okay, the show will be passable for me. If they get some of the side stuff wrong with some of the minor characters like Joel's brother or some of the other lower tier survivors that they kind of come across along the way, like you got to probably look past some of that stuff a little bit. But I think what I need most from them is to, like, if I go back through the game, there's like 2 or 3, maybe 4 key action moments or key scenario moments. And like I said earlier, one of them is where Joel's kind of trapped and hanging upside down, and the warehouse that he's upside down in gets breached by zombies, and he's basically winging them while he's upside down. Like, I need that. There's a key part in the game where I think they're at a mall. He falls from like a second floor of the mall into water and like a drained into something that's flooded basically, and he's in the process of drowning and getting his ass kicked by a zombie, and Ellie shows up and rescues him with the gun he dropped. They get the other scene where they're pinned down in like a city street by one of the government's like Humvees with the 50 cal is kind of chasing them block to block, and they have to stealth it from point to point to stay safe because they don't have anything that can disable a Humvee. Like, I want to see those. There's probably a half dozen of them because the game's long enough, of those tense moments where they are having maximum high stakes conflicts, and I want to see those adapted as close to source as I can get. If they do those, I'm willing to overlook a lot of the other minor things that they might have to do to make the show work.
And one thing I've already noticed by watching the trailer, they are cutting out a lot of that midpoint. Because if you follow the game, they have to go to here, and then when they get to here, it leads them to here. What I saw in the trailer is that they're here at the beginning, and they have to go to point Z already. Like, the whole thing is at the point Z. So they're cutting out a lot of that middle area where they keep. It's not failure, but it's kind of like the next wave point type thing, because they're like, oh, we have to get her here. Oh no, they're not here anymore. Oh, we have to get her here. This is where they're at now, or maybe we could find someone here. To this is what they said, and then it's more of a mystery trying to figure out where they are, as well as trying to keep her safe and get her to the location. But they're jumping straight to get from here to Z.
See, the mystery element, I feel like it could work. The constant movement, I would be in favor of, because I guess my biggest concern, actually, I gotta walk back what I said a little bit. My biggest concern for the show would then be, and I don't think they'll do this because it's HBO Max and not Disney Plus, is that they stay in the same place doing nothing for episodes 3 through 5. That they find an encampment and they bunker up, but like nothing happens. There's no looming, like nobody spotted a horde like down the road that they know is coming, that they're prepping against, and then like, oh shit, the power went out. Oh god, the power went out because this dude stole the key to the generator and he's trying to leave. Like, there's subplots that you build into that make those episodes better than filler, as long as they're written right and they have stakes that are tense. I just don't want to see them sitting around talking to each other about themselves, or 3 episodes filled a flashback to the world before. I don't care. I don't want to see that shit. I want them to stay in the moment and move things tensely from one next beat to the next. Walking Dead, when it's being good Walking Dead, does exactly that. They make you feel safe for about 10 minutes and then boom, the walls open. Save for 10 minutes, boom, somebody got bitten, didn't tell you, now you're infected too. You know what I mean? You always have to plan that progression. As long as they stick to that, I'd probably be okay with whatever add-ons that they need to throw in there. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, ultimate last words, or are we done? Are we done here? Or is it dinner time? What are we doing here?
I think I said what I need to say. The
Until we get some show in front of
underwhelmingness.
us.
Yep.
True that. Until we get some show in front of us. Guys, that being the case, we appreciate you stopping by to chat. Happy New Year. Last of Us, HBO Max, January 15th, 9 o'clock Eastern. We're going to cover it that day, between us, and then we'll get back to you guys in a couple days, I guess. We'll see what we do. But until next time, this has been Winter Wolf and King Z. We'll see you in the
Go Lions, beat Green Bay.
Oh, snap.